I just signed the bottom. Okay. It is my first newborn child. Check. I'd like to see that. Be interesting.
Good. Can I get a check on that? Can you say something into your mic, please?
Testing, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Good evening. Welcome to the December 12th Board of Aldermen meeting. I now call this meeting to order and would ask everyone to rise and join the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I would ask the city clerk to call roll for attendance.
Alderman Allen.
Here.
Alderman Even.
Here.
Alderman Francisco.
Here.
Alderman Holman.
Here.
Alderman Hughes.
Here.
And Alderman Weezahan.
Here.
I have Alderman Mortland and Alderman Perot as absent. Mayor Reem is presiding, and we do have a quorum.
Thank you. Now review the minutes from the November 28th meeting. I seek a motion and second to approve.
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Any discussion or amendment on the minutes? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And I'll ask the city clerk, any citizens wish to speak?
No, sir.
Thank you. Moving to public hearing, I will read this. A public hearing to review a request from John Lang, I hope I pronounced that right, Lang, owner, for approval of a conditional use permit for an accessory structure, a roof mounted solar energy system facing a street to be located at 14 Summerhill Lane in the suburban estate SD zoning district. I now declare the public hearing open and would ask the city clerk to enter exhibits.
Exhibit number 1 is affidavit of publication of notice of hearing, published in the St. Louis Countian on November 22nd, 2022. Exhibit number 2 is typewritten notice of hearing, posted at the Municipal Center, on the city's website, on the subject property, and mailed to property owners within 300 feet of that property, with a list of those owners attached. And exhibit number 3 is bill number 2270.
My understanding is the owner will be present to answer questions. And I would then ask the Board of Aldermen if any of them have any questions or discussion. I would then ask if there's any members of the public that wish to comment. Hearing none, I now declare the public hearing closed. Next, I will call on the city clerk to announce new information pertinent to this hearing, the public hearing for.
Mayor, regarding bill number 2271, the public hearing for outside dining for Tacos for Life,
Right.
we received formal confirmation of withdrawal from Andy Kendall, the managing partner of Tacos for Life today, for the outside dining, restaurant approval, and architectural review applications. That written notice will be attached to the minutes and noted for each of the public hearing and agenda items 13, 14, and 15.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
No appointments. I will now recognize the board's opportunity to provide reports on their commissions. Alderman Francisco.
Yeah, just a quick update that our next Parks and Trails meeting will be on Monday, December 19th at 6:30 at Longview.
Thank you. Alderman Weezahan.
Thank you. The Police, Fire, and EMS Commission will meet next Tuesday at 4:30 in the community room up front.
Thank you. And I'll ask the city administrator, do you have a report?
No report.
All right, moving on to unfinished business. Bill number 22-60. Sponsored by Alderman Allen. Without objection, will the city clerk read the bill for the second time?
Bill number 2260 is an ordinance approving the budget and authorizing budgeted expenditures for the budget year beginning January 1, 2023.
I seek a motion to approve.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Any discussion or amendment?
Mayor, I'd like to make an amendment.
Certainly.
Okay. My amendment is I move to amend the budget, specifically the road fund, by the removal of the deer management program in the amount of $42,640.
And I will then look for a second for that.
Second.
All right. Any other discussion on that?
Oh.
You go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't know if it's been a few years, but in 2017, I had the privilege of co-chairing the Deer Task Force for the city. And the task force consisted of residents representing all 4 wards. Implementation of both lethal and non-lethal methods was recommended. To date, the city has chosen only to implement lethal methods despite the results of, believe it or not, 2008 city survey clearly indicating a preference of non-lethal methods. So I would like the board to perhaps use this time to go ahead and review some non-lethal deer management methods that would be new since 2017 and incorporate non-lethal methods of deer management as recommended by the Deer Task Force. And that possibly could allow us to identify and serve areas of the city not currently participating in the lethal management program.
If I could ask you a question.
Sure.
Any thoughts on the cost per deer to use non-lethal methods versus lead from a bullet?
Okay.
Seriously, per deer?
Well, in answer to that question, the closest that I can come is from 2011 to 2022. It would be the city spent $827,258 on managing deer. If I divide that out by the 6,685, the 1,809 deer, it comes out to $369 per deer. Non-lethal was looking at $350 per deer at the time. Now, it may be higher now, but that was the number that I remember.
Alderman Egan.
When was the last time you stated that we used non-lethal?
Oh, non-lethal, gosh, that was when I was in office the first time. That was back 20 years ago.
So I have a question,
Yeah.
what was I thought at some point we were putting collars on deer and we were doing hysterectomy.
So ovarectomies, and the Missouri Department of Conservation currently does not authorize ovarectomies. The only authorized method is the shove shooting that the Conservation Department has approved.
And we need the recommendation or their authorization.
From the Missouri Department of Conservation, they
Okay,
permit our program.
thank you.
Can we take a voice vote on this amendment? All in favor of that amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay.
Nay.
I believe the nays carry.
Aye for.
I got it. So that fails to carry, thank you. Any other discussion on the budget? Alderman Holman.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to amend the budget specifically in the Parks and Storm Fund by reinstating construction for the Woodmark Stormwater Project in the amount of $500,000.
Is there a second for that?
Second.
And any other discussion on that? All in favor, say, I'm sorry, Alderman Allen, go.
So thank you, just for clarification, this is a project that's been in the hamper, work's been done on it already.
Yes, we have easements, we have permits, we have sent out the RFP and have it back and identified the contractor for construction. We are at the finish line. And we would like to proceed forward because we've spent over 6 figures on engineering and design already today on this project.
Thank you.
All in favor of that amendment, say aye.
Aye.
All right, anyone opposed? Any other discussion? Then would ask the city clerk for a roll call
I'm
vote.
sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead, I'm sorry.
So I just had some questions,
Sure.
I believe for Mr. Jolly. I had a resident reach out to me with just some comments and questions that I wanted to get clarified. That first question is with regards to building permits. The question was, why would we see a 50% higher estimate over 2022 for 2023 with our building permits if we haven't seen revenue since 2018?
So that would be for the BJC, the new development. So we're estimating building permit revenue of about $200,000 for that piece.
For that one piece. Okay. The next question is, as far as business licenses being up $100,000 in 2023 versus prior years, is that a one-time event or are we anticipating more?
So actually, in 2019 and 2020, it was much better. But with regard to that, most of our business licenses are based on square footage, and some of the others are based on gross receipts, and the gross receipts have increased in 2022 from 2021. And then we also have Target, that and REI and restaurants like that are based on gross receipts, and those are bringing in additional sales tax revenue. So that's what the gross receipts number would be based on. And since the business license fee for these businesses are based on those gross receipts on the prior year, that signifies to me economic recovery, and we hope that this continues to improve in future years as well.
The next question was in regards to telecom fees taking a dive. Can you tell us a little bit more about the reasoning behind that?
Yes, so that has to do with where we used to receive money from Verizon based on linear square feet. And in 2022, the state statutes were changed, and this is regarding the waiver legislation. And so we can no longer collect revenue based on linear square feet. And so that's why that number is down so much.
And so at this time, we don't anticipate anything to change legislatively to adjust that.
Not for that particular line item, no.
Similar question with just regards to the inspection fees and rental income. We've seen a decrease in that. Is there a reasoning behind
Yes.
decrease?
So for the inspection fees, West County Fire Protection District now does the commercial inspections for us, and they've done that since September of 2021. So they then collect the revenue for that, and then they reimburse us on a quarterly basis for 61% of that revenue. So the initial revenue was budgeted $120,000, but we don't believe that it'll be $120,000 for 2023. So that's why that number is down. On the rental income, that is where in the past, we always budgeted the money from West County Fire Protection District for the rental of the fire station. But for 2023 and future years, we just netted out that number. So instead of them paying us money and us paying them money, we netted it out. So we'll just be paying them in their line item in that expenditure account for West County Fire Protection District. And so that's where that is. They're still, it nets out, so we're still receiving the revenue, but it'll be a reduction in the expense that we have to pay out to them. So it looks more concerning than it is because it's not in the revenue line anymore, but it also is over in the expense, so it nets out.
Okay. Next question would be behind the municipal court fees. Can you talk a little bit about how you believe that those are going to change over the next year?
Sure. So when we were going through COVID, of course, many people were home, working from home. There wasn't as much travel. Now we have, the tickets have increased now, so we would expect that we would collect more revenue. And there are more in-person court sessions now. It's, in the past it was for a period of time, it was all virtual. and now they have virtual, but they also had in person. And there were some challenges when it was virtual because people just wouldn't show up. So now it's much better where we're collecting a lot more revenue than we had previously, especially during COVID.
With current inflation being around 7 to 9%, why is the expected expenditures only up 5%?
So we looked at reducing the expenditures. It was a fact of looking at what we want versus what we need. So we budgeted for the needs and reduced a lot of the wants. And so we wanted to be practical and keep our budget manageable.
And then the last question is, how is the capital improvement fund allowed to operate in the negative in 2025 and 2026? So essentially, where is the fund being reappropriated? Where's that coming from?
So first of all, we're not allowing it, it's just a projection. But if we got to that point in 2025 and when we would be in a negative situation, then we would need to transfer money from somewhere else. And at this point, I don't know where that would be. But that was just an attempt to show you as a board and also the public a picture of what we need to look at for the future and what we may need to adjust at that point.
Thank you for answering those questions. So I have one final statement. Given that we had the ability to put a property tax and move that forward as a board, and that failed for the lack of majority. I just want to make it known that I'm concerned about our budget moving forward. I'm extremely concerned that we have been operating at a deficit. We're dipping into our revenues. We do not have a stable sense of revenues coming in outside of our sales tax. And I think that we need to actively be looking at something that's going to supplement our revenues so that we are projecting and looking towards the future of what the city needs to continue to evolve, and to know that it is something that we will need to make a change on sooner rather than later. Waiting until the 2024 opportunity for the Board of Aldermen to potentially move a property tax forward is extremely concerning to me. I just wanted to make that statement. Thank you.
Thanks for your question. At this point, I would ask the city clerk for a roll call.
Alderman Allen.
Aye.
Alderman Francisco.
Aye.
Alderman Weezingham.
Aye.
Alderman Holman.
Aye.
Alderman Even.
Aye.
And Alderman Hughes.
Nay.
The bill passes 5-1 and as amended and becomes ordinance number 4539.
Thank you. Next, we have a fair number of bills that are basically housekeeping. Bill number 22-61, sponsored by the board as a whole. Without objection, would the city clerk read the bill for the second time?
Bill number 2261 is an ordinance regarding the rate of compensation of employees of the city of Town and Country and repealing ordinance number 4474.
I seek a motion to approve. A second.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion or amendment? I would ask the city clerk for a roll call vote.
Alderman Hughes.
Aye.
Alderman Allen.
Aye.
Alderman Even.
Aye.
Alderman Holman.
Aye.
Alderman Weezingham.
Aye.
And Alderman Francisco.
Aye.
The bill passes unanimously and becomes ordinance number 4540.
Thank you. Next bill number 22-62, sponsored by Alderman Weezingham, Holman, and Allen. Without objection, would the city clerk read the bill for the second time?
Bill number 2262 is an ordinance approving a deer management plan and authorizing a wildlife management service agreement between the City of Town and Country, Missouri and White Buffalo, Inc. for professional deer management services.
Thank you. I seek a motion to approve.
So moved.
In a second. Any discussion or amendment? Alderman Holman.
Mayor, I move to accept a substitute bill for consideration.
You would explain the reasons?
Sure.
Go right ahead.
The substitute bill includes amendments to allow for up to 20 deer to be donated to the zoo, in addition to those processed for the Share the Harvest program. Additionally, it also removes the distance sampling service that we have participated in the past for 2023 and extends the requirement to every other year.
I seek a second on the motion for a substitute.
So moved.
Thank you. Any discussion on the substitution? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Nay.
Thank you. And any other further discussion or amendment? Alderman Holman.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a question for our city administrator, as we've had residents come up in the past regarding bow hunting in our community. And now we have an alderman asking us to circle back with regard to other ways to manage the deer population. I'm wondering if you could provide some information to us at sometime in first quarter as it pertains to other ways to manage deer safety in our community.
Absolutely.
Or maybe you have an answer today.
No, I'd be glad to gather some information and provide it. And we may want to have a representative of White Buffalo come and address the board on some of those topics as well.
And maybe somebody you can speak to, maybe it's the Department of Conservation regarding fell hunting and other municipalities that participate in that, and something for the board to require moving forward.
Yep.
And we could hit upon the Missouri Department of Conservation's use of non-lethal methods.
Yeah,
too.
that'd be great.
Cover the whole waterfront, I think.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank
Good
you.
idea. Any other discussion? If not, I'd ask the city clerk for a roll call vote.
Alderman Weezingham.
Aye.
Alderman Holman.
Aye.
Alderman Francisco.
Aye.
Alderman Hughes.
Nay.
Alderman Allen.
Aye.
And Alderman Even.
Aye.
The bill passes 5-1 and becomes, as substituted, and becomes ordinance number 4541.
Next bill number 22-63, sponsored by Alderman Holman. Without objection, would the city clerk read the bill for the second time?
Bill number 2263 is an ordinance accepting the bid and authorizing an agreement with Gerstner Electric for 2023 traffic signal maintenance and repair.
I seek a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second. Thank you. Any discussion or amendment? I would ask the city clerk for a roll call vote.
Alderman Holman.
Aye.
Alderman Even.
Aye.
Alderman Weezingham.
Aye.
Alderman Hughes.
Aye.
Alderman Allen.
Aye.
And Alderman Francisco.
Aye.
The bill passes unanimously and becomes ordinance number 4542.
Next bill number 22-64, also sponsored by Alderman Holman. Without objection, would the city clerk read the bill for the second time?
Bill number 2264 is an ordinance accepting the bid and authorizing an agreement with T Hill Construction for the 2023 on-call roadway maintenance program.
Thank you. Seek a motion to approve.
So moved.
In a second.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion or amendment? I would ask the city clerk for a roll call vote.
Alderman Hughes.
Aye.
Alderman Even.
Aye.
Alderman Allen.
Aye.
Alderman Weezingham.
Aye.
Alderman Holman.
Aye.
And Alderman Francisco.
Aye.
The bill passes unanimously and becomes ordinance number 4543.
Next bill number 22-65, also sponsored by Alderman Holman. Without objection, would the city clerk read the bill for the second time?
Bill number 2265 is an ordinance authorizing a professional services agreement with HR Green, Inc. for 2023 on-call engineering services.
Thank you. Seek a motion to approve.
So moved.
In a second. Any discussion or amendment? Would ask the city clerk for a roll call vote.
Alderman Francisco.
Aye.
Alderman Hughes.
Aye.
Alderman Even.
Aye.
Alderman Holman.
Aye.
Alderman Weezingham.
Aye.
And Alderman Allen. The bill passes unanimously and becomes ordinance number 4544.
Thank you. Next bill number 22-66, also sponsored by Alderman Holman. Without objection, would the city clerk read the bill for the second time?
Bill number 2266 is an ordinance accepting the bid and authorizing an agreement with Gamma Tree Experts for 2023 on-call tree trimming and removal services.
I seek a motion to approve.
So moved.
In a second.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion or amendment? I would ask the city clerk for a roll call vote.
Alderman Even.
Aye.
Alderman Hughes.
Aye.
Alderman Allen.
Aye.
Alderman Holman.
Aye.
Alderman Francisco. And Alderman Weezingham.
Aye.
The bill passes unanimously and becomes ordinance number 4545.
Thank you. Next bill number 22-67, sponsored by Alderman Holman. Without objection, will the city clerk read the bill for the second time?
Bill number 2267 is an ordinance accepting the bid of Corvus Janitorial for 2023 custodial services at city-owned buildings and parks, and authorizing a maintenance agreement for same.
I seek a motion to approve.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion or amendment? Ask the city clerk for a roll call vote.
Alderman Francisco?
Aye.
Alderman Hughes?
Aye.
Alderman Weezingham?
Aye.
Alderman Allen?
Aye.
Alderman Even?
Aye.
And Alderman Holman.
Aye.
The bill passes unanimously and becomes ordinance number 4546.
Thank you. Next bill number 22-68, sponsored by Alderman Holman. Without objection, will the city clerk read the bill for the second time?
Bill number 2268 is an ordinance accepting the bid of St. Louis Select Landscaping for the 2023 grounds care program and authorizing an agreement for same.
I seek a motion to approve.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Any discussion or amendment? Ask the city clerk for a roll call vote.
Alderman Holman?
Aye.
Alderman Even?
Aye.
Alderman Francisco?
Aye.
Alderman Allen?
Aye.
Alderman Hughes?
Aye.
And Alderman Weezingham.
Aye.
The bill passes unanimously and becomes ordinance number 4547.
Next bill number 22-69, sponsored by the board as a whole. Without objection, will the city clerk read the bill for the second time?
Bill number 2269 is an ordinance of the City of Town and Country, Missouri, authorizing and directing the submission of a ballot proposition to the qualified voters of the City of Town and Country, Missouri, to consider imposing a local use tax at the same rate as the local sales tax of the City of Town and Country, Missouri, for purchases from out-of-state vendors.
Thank you. I seek a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion or amendment? Alderman Allen.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to accept substitute bill number 2269 for consideration.
And the reason being?
The reason is the substitute includes some technical changes, couple words that would accurately, fully accurately mimic the amendments made statutorily regarding the use tax.
In other words, our attorneys changed a little bit. So
It changed a bit, I think it's 2 words and a comma.
they're important. They're important.
Yeah, just, basically, the legislature amended that statute a couple of years ago and deleted the section that had the valid language for St. Louis County municipalities, and now we just fall into the other one. And for whatever reason, there are 2 or 3 very small changes between those two. So we thought it was safest to make sure we use that exact language as opposed to the old language.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before I get to you, Alderman Guzman, just first I want to seek a second for a motion on the substitute.
Second.
Thank you. And the further discussion, Alderman Guzman.
I guess I don't have a question on the substitute. I just have a question on the bill. So,
Okay. And then let's, all in favor of adopting the substitute for consideration, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Okay. All right, go ahead.
Mr. Shelton, I had a quick question, or 2 questions. One, what was the estimated amount of revenue that we were expecting for the first year?
Estimate, $500,000. However, I was telling Mr. Jolly just today, I spoke with the city of Bridgeton. They have a population a little bit smaller than Town and Country. They estimated $400,000. They brought in 3 times that amount. So it's an estimate.
What city was that?
Bridgeton. They do have more of a commercial,
Yes.
heavier industrial and commercial area.
For the entire year? Or when they?
Well, so far, year to date,
Yeah.
correct, for 2022.
So just to, are you finished? I'm sorry, I don't want to jump in, because I just would like him to clarify. So if we pass this in April, we would collect receipts October, November, December for 23.
Approximately, by the time the Department of Revenue, everything's certified and it begins to be collected.
No, I meant first 12 months.
Okay.
Yeah, whatever
Yeah.
period that would
Yeah,
be.
oh, okay, thank you.
I had one other question. In the memo, it said that the first year it would be allocated to capital improvements.
So just as a thought, that if the board wanted to take some action on down the road to designate those funds, as you all know and you have discussed, the road fund and our capital fund is where we really need help to maintain the infrastructure of the community. So you may want to designate first-year revenue, since it's not budgeted for any other expense, to go into the capital fund. But that's something you could do, assuming this would be approved tonight, move forward, you could adopt some legislation.
So, I mean, and I guess moving forward, if it is approved, what would happen? So every year, would it be allocated to a different fund based on the board's decision, or would it?
The board always decides through your budget.
So
you
essentially,
would-
it's just going to the general fund?
Yeah, this would just be first year, so again, since there isn't anything in the budget for this revenue.
Okay. And then just one other statement I just wanted to make, not really related to it. I mean, I did want to mention, that my vote doesn't necessarily reflect, I think it's important that we have this on the ballot to allow the residents to decide. It doesn't necessarily reflect my decision either way to put it on, but this is our only opportunity. We're the only opportunity to put it on the board or ballot for this measure.
Any further discussion? Alderman Holman.
Thank you, Mayor. I have questions for you. Sorry. So currently, if a transaction is made online from a Town and Country resident, what, if any, percent of that sales tax transactions does the city receive?
Zero.
Zero. And do you know how many municipalities have adopted the use tax?
I don't have that number at hand. I know a couple who will already have it on the April ballot as well. I believe the city of Maryland Heights has already put it on.
And then do you have specific numbers with regard to what the current sales tax is for online transaction and what this would raise it to?
Well, this would only increase the online, what it currently is, by 1.25%. So it's still an online purchase is still a savings compared to in-store. It would still be lower.
And if I purchase, so you're saying if I purchase something online from Home Depot versus driving to Home Depot, I would still be paying less sales tax online in my municipality would benefit.
Correct.
Thank you.
Alderman Weezer.
Well, one other question since you didn't sit down yet. So if this does get approved, it still wouldn't take care of the whole budget issues that we see down the road. So there's still some other source of revenue that we would need.
That's correct.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's a good point, though. This would be revenue coming directly to the city of Town and Country for services for your residents, this 1.25%.
Thank you.
That's the city clerk for a roll call vote.
Alderman Allen.
Aye.
Alderman Holman.
Aye.
Alderman Hughes.
Aye.
Alderman Weezahan.
Aye.
Alderman Francisco.
Aye.
And Alderman Even.
Aye.
It carries unanimously and becomes ordinance number 4548.
Under new business, resolution number R10-2022, a resolution canceling the scheduled Board of Aldermen meeting, specifically the 27th, 2022 meeting. I seek a motion and second to approve.
So moved. Second.
I would
Second.
hope to God.
I don't know.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next, bill number 22-70. I seek a sponsor, I think, maybe Alderman Francisco. Okay, thank you. And without objection, will the city clerk read the bill for the first time?
Bill number 2270 is an ordinance approving a conditional use and authorizing a conditional use permit for an accessory structure, a roof-mounted solar energy system facing a street located at 14 Summerhill Lane in the city of Town and Country.
Thank you. Bill number 22-70 is continued to the meeting of Monday, January 9, 2023 for the second reading and consideration. Thank you. Next on our, as announced by the city clerk, Tacos for Life has withdrawn their applications for outside dining, restaurant approval, and architecture review. So no further action will be taken on agenda items 13, 14, and 2015. Moving on to item 16 under new business. Approval of liquor licenses for the Melting Pot at 294 Lantern Village. I seek a motion and second to approve.
So
Second.
Any discussion or amendment? Alderman Allen.
question, Mr. Dollar. Typically, the liquor licenses come due in June, or was this just at the end of their year?
No, this is due to a change in ownership.
Okay. Thank you.
Just a quick question along those lines, just briefly. Not necessarily over a liquor license, but maybe a license fee or not sales tax, but like, what is our flexibility, if any, if we have a small company that is maybe having trouble having the ability to pay the liquor license right on time, or maybe the business license fee right on time? Where do we, not that I think this would ever come up very often, but do we have some flexibility to, especially if it's, say, a small company's been here forever? I mean, I know we can't carry them forever, but what flexibility does a city have to say, can we give them another 30 days? Do we have any under the law or code to do that? I'm not advocating for it, but it was just sort of popped into my head. If we could sometimes maybe help out a company that might need that. And obviously it'd only be temporary, but.
So it kind of depends on the nature of the fee in question. So I mean, some license fees are to offset administrative costs. Probably have a little bit more flexibility with those. The ones that are voter approved revenue generating, it's a little bit more difficult. And generally speaking, when you do things, you want to do it in an even-handed, non-discriminatory fashion as well. So obviously, if it's, we like this business, we'll help them out, but I'm not so sure about this one, you could end up in pitfalls. But I mean, there are certainly things we could look at, programs you can discuss. It's just an area we want to tread carefully.
I don't know if it's even ever come up in the past, but probably it has.
With the liquor license, if that expires, they cannot sell liquor, and that has happened.
Okay,
And they have to get they have to have a city license and a state license. But a
okay.
business license, we do have somewhere in arrears, and we work with them to get caught.
I'm curious what we can do to support it.
Can't hear state.
All in favor of this, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The warrant list is in the amount of $346,870.23. I seek a motion and second to approve.
Second.
Any discussion or amendment on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I do not have any other things to discuss that I can think of off the top of my head. I will like to, one thing, I do want to say, congrats to our police chief for I'm sure you saw the updates in terms of the saturation and the number of people who have been arrested for stolen cars, things like that. Chief did a great job, and I think, and I will say, I just want to say that every time I go to a subdivision meeting, I get more questions, are we funding the police enough versus defund the police? So I just want to throw a shout out to our police officers for the wonderful job they have. Now I will open it up. I see Alderman Weedman, so.
Just a quick question. I know it's not our project. Clayton Road, is there, I know it's something that you're in tune with, but
That's a great question, because my alignment on my car is not good.
it really came to be when I've heard a couple people tell me they've been driving in the other lane. So,
I do it all the time now.
all right.
Over the
We were
record.
told by the project manager that the restoration would be completed by the end of November. So it didn't happen.
What year?
So unfortunately, they let the contract too late, and they're just now getting started. What they're doing now is replacing the asphalt trench with concrete. As you've been seeing, the asphalt sinks. So you need a stable base there. And then they want to mill and overlay more asphalt this winter.
You know,
He
my
tells
question,
me-
I can just interrupt real quickly. That's great, and what they did on Ballas Road looks fine, but and I know it probably doesn't make sense from an economic standpoint, but if they could over mill the parts they've already done instead of digging up the whole thing all the way down before they over mill, because, I mean, it is just like pothole central, basically, especially those little notches that come out toward the middle. You can sort of navigate it until you hit those notches that are there. And if they could somehow, okay, we're gonna put in this concrete and have that be that much lower than the surface. And obviously the concrete dries in hours because people are driving on it when it works over. They could sort of over mill as they go along. I think there'd be a hell of a lot of happy drivers.
The problem right now is you can pour concrete in cold weather, you cannot lay asphalt in cold weather. He told me that he'll go ahead and do it if I let him do it, and I'm like, I'm not gonna let you do that if it's too cold for asphalt. You have to have a temperature of 40 and rising. So he said he wants to try it, I said, no, I don't want to be stuck with bad asphalt. So we're gonna be stuck with a pretty cruddy street, I'm afraid, in the winter time, so.
So it has to be 40 degrees and rising.
So
40 degrees and rising to lay asphalt, yes.
Can we please put out a public statement regarding that? Because I have received emails and text messages saying, I'm blaming the city for this, and I think it needs to be made known to the residents that this is not a city-controlled situation.
Okay.
Because there are some who are even going litigious with this.
Maybe just provide
So-
Missouri American Water's number.
Yes.
Yeah.
And,
I'll get something to Morgan.
Thank you.
That's a good idea.
I mean, people are agitated.
Yeah.
I'll be honest
It's
with
one thing I keep
It's
hearing.
terrible.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
you. It is,
I
it
just
is.
drove down the other day.
Oh, I
So-
tried about 12
So
times a
Michael,
day.
any
It's worse
new,
than
have they
Ballas
provided
Road.
any kind of a timeline and have we developed a timeline? Anything other than just until we get the temperatures we want?
Like I said, he thinks he can overlay it by the end of the year,
Okay,
but it's gonna be too cold.
Can we do a little compromise and just fill in the notches? I mean, it would make everything doable if those notches were taken care of, where you're not, because that's where you're like, that's when you sort of jump into the other lanes, so you can avoid the notch and
Right.
jump back.
Right.
And if we could just fill in, and if that little piece of asphalt goes bad, we'll replace it, but it's not a huge chunk. Just a thought.
No, I think it's a good idea.
On Wednesday, where we're going to be almost 60 degrees.
How many days?
yeah, how long does it take?
Well, that's the problem. I mean, they need to start first thing in the morning, so you need maybe 2 or 3 days of decent weather. I mean, if you have one day of 40 and rising, it's not gonna work.
But are you getting the sense that they're kind of looking at the forecast and saying, we've got 3 days here, we can actually get this done? Is that how they're?
They got way more than 3 days
He's
working.
He's not looking at the forecast, but he's hoping to get some good weather, so. Right now, they're not finished with the county, so
60 degrees.
they're not ready to do it yet.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
All right, I'm gonna try and go in order that I think I saw. Alderman Holman.
Thank you, Mayor. I just, with the approval of the budget, I just wanted to quickly highlight with the community what projects are going to take place in our city next year, which I think are pretty exciting, with the fact that we didn't pass a property tax. We're doing some big projects. So in 2021, we started the year with a little over $12.5 million in the bank. 2022, $14 million in the bank. In 2023, we'll start with $15 million in the bank. In 2024, we will start with $14 million in the bank. This year, in our 2023 year, we will spend about $1 million on our roadways, which is much needed, and I hope that we are able to grab some of that. If Prop U should pass, that we were able to capture some of those dollars and use those on roadway as well. The major project coming out of roads will be Clayton Road at the east end of the city. The police department, they have almost a 6% increase, especially for those residents wondering if we fund it. We are funding it next year, and their largest capital improvement will be probably the 4 vehicles that they'll be receiving, and will be filling the lieutenant position, which is exciting for their department. In parks and trails, we're getting 2 new playgrounds next year, which is huge. We're gonna seal our trails on Clayton Road, in Dress Park, and in Longview Park. We're gonna reconstruct our Longview parking lot, and we're going to look at we're gonna have a structural assessment of our Longview house. For storm, we're gonna spend a little under $700,000 completing projects that we've already spent thousands and thousands of dollars on engineering and design over the past several years. So we're taking those projects off of our books in 2023. So the city has a lot of great and exciting projects to be proud of next year. Thank you.
Thank you. And I agree with that. I also, though, agree with Alderman, even at some point, those financial numbers are not going to be as rosy. But I think we'll be good until 2024. Alderman Allen.
I would just like to say, happy holiday, Merry Christmas to everyone. And I think we've had a good year. Another good time.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, everybody here today, for sure. How about adjourning? Seek a motion to approve?
So moved.
And second. All in favor?
Aye. See y'all in 2023.
Yeah. All this Friday.